It's Tuesday, and I mean, obviously, on the title, we're still talking about yesterday, and so I wanted to have a little discussion on why I believe yesterday really triggered me. So, y'all know I got a son, right? I have a son. He's 15 years old. We're getting to the I want to drive point in life, right? And so, um, the very first time Elijah ever experienced racism here, he was 5 years old and he was going to a school in Estill Springs. That'd be the first time. And he had asked his little Caucasian friend if he can go over there. And well, they really wanted to spend the night at each other's house. And so little boy thought it would be okay. Little Caucasian boy didn't know nothing about not liking other people of color or anything like that. So he made friends with Elijah, and they really played. They used to play and thing. They used to make up scenarios as at 5 years old, just running around looking silly. And so um, Elijah was like, "Little boy, wants to invite me to the house, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, we'll just have the parents call me and we'll figure it out." Well, the parents never called, and so Elijah said, "Did they ever call you?" And I said, "No." I said, "Why don't you ask him uh, why uh, they haven't called?" And so um, he comes home from school and he goes, "Well, we figured out a solution." And I said, "Was there a problem?" And he was like, "Yeah, they don't want me to come over there um, because I'm black." He's 5, you guys. And then he proceeds to say, "So what we decided to do was hide me in a closet until nighttime and then I could come out and play." That was 5. The second time he experienced racism, he was 8 years old, and we were at this hands-on science center. And that story is long, and I actually waited. I watched. It was interesting. I watched other parents that were not of my same race uh, watch my child get yelled at by another woman while protecting another woman's child. Now, the woman's child he was protecting, she was watching this woman yell at my child, and she actually said nothing to that lady, even though she knew that if my son moved, that little boy that he was protecting him from would have pushed him off the chair again, right? And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, is anybody going to get up and say anything about this grown woman yelling at my 8-year old? Just yelling. And I let it go on for like 3 minutes. And then I stood up and I was like, "Excuse me, ma'am. Did you ever ask this little boy where his mama was at?" Well, and so we got into it. And then the mother of the kid that my son was protecting goes, "Oh, um, yeah, he was protecting my son, and you don't have to." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. You stay over there, the way where you were when he was getting yelled at by a grown woman. Now everybody needs to shut up." So, like, that was the second time. The third time was at the school. I was in the fifth grade at that time. And so Elijah leaving the fourth grade was in the 90 percentile. He had tested 90 percentile. They test them when they go back into school. So when he went back into school, fifth grade, he tested 30 percentile, which is weird. And so they proceed to call me and tell me that the reason why my son tested 30% in the 30 percentile in the interest, back into fifth grade, was because I was a single mom and he didn't have a father. I said that he had tested in the 90 percentile leaving the fourth grade. I had Elijah spelling flower and bucket when he was able to form a sentence. He wasn't even a year old. That's how early I started working on his education. before he even stepped into a institutional building where they would dumb him down. So she told me that over the phone or whatnot. And I picked him up from school, and they were talking about putting him in whatever kind of classes or whatever. And the way they sold it to him, it was a great ideal. And I remember Dr. Umar, this is back in the day, like when he first started, he was like, they like to put Black boys in slow classes because it gives the school more money, blah, blah, blah. But they target that because it's easier, that demographic, because it's easier to convince those people that their kid is slow or ADHD or something like that. I remember that. And y'all, I mean, like, I was saved, you know what I'm saying? But I was going through the process. So I'm in the car and I am cussing up a storm, hot. It's better for me to do it in the car than to do the actual teacher, because then I had to call the police on myself again. So I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And Elijah is like what do they call the classes? Specials. They call the classes special. I say, ain't nobody special. I was going off. You feel me? Like, I was like, I had you spelling words out the Bible, not the not like the other version, the King James version, the one that nobody understands. I was hot. You guys, I was mad because I felt like they were trying to bamboozle me about my child and his education level. And what they thought is that I was not an active mother. Why would you assume that? I also know that, like, boys, they learn better when they're being active. Me and Elijah used to get up real early, and we would go walk, and I would just fill his brain. And then the next day I would quiz him, and the next day I would fill his brain, and then the next day I would quiz him. Listen. So I wrote a note, and the teacher called me, and I said, it is insulting that instead of you being concerned that the child came to school and tested in a 30 percentile, when he left the school, he was in 90 percentile, you would have thought to retest him. Maybe he had a bad testing day. Instead, you want to say that my child is having problems in the 5th grade or with the entrance exam because his mother is a single mom and there's no father in the home. Excuse me, ma'am, we have lived the same lifestyle since he came out the womb. His daddy ain't never been there. And he had straight A's. Do you hear me? I said, so what I'm going to tell you to do is retest him. So they retested him. They never sent me test results. All of a sudden, Elijah ain't in specials no more. My son had the highest 9th grade in the 5th grade. The highest. He came home with honor roll, student of the month the whole year. I said, you going to show them. You going to make sure that they understand to never, ever assume that they can put us in a stereotypical manner ever again. So disrespectful. It was so disrespectful. And so then that was the 3rd time. So I'm telling these stories because there have been instances and just clear cut, boom, like, okay, we just gonna say it. And I'll be like, again, they said it to the wrong person. So on Sunday, Elijah goes, Mom, I need for you to like blah blah. So I'm gonna take the test for driving. Now, mind you, the car that I drove yesterday is the car that Elijah will be getting. Okay. And so he takes the test, and I ain't gonna lie, you guys, like, everybody's like, oh, you need to let Elijah drive. You need to let Elijah drive. And all in my mind that comes up when that says is, will my son make it home? Will a routine traffic stop happen? And my son that is no longer friendly looking to Caucasians because he's tall, he's stocky, he's no longer a kid. When he was 8 years old, he was no longer the cute Black kid. Will he make it home? I need Elijah to drive, to be honest. But I prefer him not to. So he takes the written exam. I ain't gonna lie, I sat there and he got too many wrong or whatever, and it stopped him midway. And he was like, I think I failed. And I was like, good. He was like, what, Mom? I was like, you do better next time. But my initial was good. Good. That gives me another, week, 2 weeks to not have to like have these thoughts. Because, his friends, which I love them all dearly, they're not our skin color. They're not. They're already driving and stuff like that. They don't have to worry about these things. But for me, I do. So when I get in the car, so I'm like, okay, I got a couple weeks, whatever. I'm gonna like start getting things changed on the car, make sure that it's straight, and then start looking for me a new car. So yesterday when I got pulled over for tints, and I know good and well I don't have those tints. Do you know what went through my mind? No, you probably don't, right? That routine traffic stop could have been my son. And if you guys don't know, Elijah is super soft-spoken. He doesn't speak up well. People are going to naturally feel like he is doing that intentionally. It's going to piss somebody off. And things could go very far left. But people don't have to worry about that. So it pissed me off to be pulled over for absolutely no reason. I didn't even have my music on. Now, I don't know if y'all know me or not, like really know me, but when I'm in my car, I don't talk to people on the phone. I have my phone plugged in and I have my music. I'm talking about like loud. My bass is as bassy as it possibly can get. And for some reason yesterday, I was like, yeah, I'm about to drive down this road. Let me just not even play my music. I didn't even have my music on. If I would have had my music on and the bass would have been up, I would have understood getting pulled over. So excuse me, for having a concern to hear that this individual that we have hired onto our Tullahoma City Police Department crew of great officers, because I have some friends that are officers for Tullahoma City. Excuse me if it concerns me that he has a great time pulling over people. He gave me a wrong tint percentage, 32%. He would have given my son a ticket. It could have went far left if it was my child. So that gives you the answer to what really triggered you. It triggered me because that car over there that I'm looking out the window is going to my son. I've never gotten pulled over for no tints, ever. And I shouldn't have been pulled over for no tints because I drove past 10 cars this morning dropping the kids off to school that you could not see who was in the car. And my son shouldn't have to be confined to good sides of town in order to not be worried about being pulled over. And excuse me, it's not always a Caucasian cop, because they all go through the same training, whether they're Caucasian or they're not. But what this cop has failed to realize is when you don't have your uniform on or your badge and you are off duty, excuse my language, you are just another nigga. And that is the problem for me. I would be just as upset as if it was a white cop. Equally. Wrong is wrong and right is right. How many people have you given fines for because your machine said that their percentage on their tint was wrong. And come to find out, your machine is wrong. Go down to the dang tint page. He didn't check 3 spots in my window, even the spot that you put the thing on, and it said 35. But if a black man is in a car driving and he says, well, let me see the percentage, and you're going to get offended and say, I don't have to show you anything. Let's keep it real. No, I'm not playing these games with nobody. Yeah, I'm going to post about it. And yes, I'm going to say something about it. And I'm sorry if you feel like that is just too extreme. But it's these routine traffic stops that have gotten plenty of black people killed. I'm still upset. It's probably why I'm still sitting here. I haven't gone up there yet because I know me enough. What you really realize is that I know me so well that I called the police on myself. You ain't never heard nobody do that before, huh? Yeah, okay. Somebody was playing with my money, and I found myself getting a little hot and upset. Like, I was like, I'm just going to call and pops on myself. Like, just come on. Because if this person keeps on playing with me and my money, my little last $50 that I have, and they won't give it back to me, we're going to have a problem. So, as adults and people, we have to be able to reflect and identify what the core problem is. The core problem is people are being trained wrong. You're being trained based on stereotypes. That was a black girl with braids in a Nissan driving on the wrong side of town, in the wrong part of town for a minute. And we all know that one rapper had made a song about the trap boy having a black girl with a Nissan, which is her dad, his bottom girl. So don't think that these stereotypes don't follow people. I know why I got pulled over, really. It had nothing to do with no tints. Someone said, what's the solution? And the crazy part is the answer that I gave would be just the mask, right? Because in all genuineness, putting the solution on social media is not ideal. So that's not the right question to ask publicly. The whole system needs to be dismantled and rebuilt. The whole system needs to be dismantled and rebuilt. The system was built when we were not even considered to be human. We were property. I'm going to say it one more time. The system was built when we were considered to be property and not human. Property don't have rights. They have the right to remain silent. Property don't got rights. People go, you can't be mad at me for what my ancestors did. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad that the system has not been dismantled that your ancestors built, and that you're still capitalizing on that very system. That's why I'm mad. Because we can't dismantle the system ourselves. Of course not. We don't have that much power. It would take you to go, you know what? We're wrong. What the news says about African Americans is wrong. If we look in the jail, 90 or even 80, I'm going to give 80% are our own people, are Caucasian. If we look at the deadbeat fathers list, majority of them are Caucasian too. And I want somebody to tell me that I'm not telling the truth, especially in this area. I want somebody to tell me that I'm not telling the truth. Because I remember when I took the job at the courthouse, and instantly every stereotype of a Black person came to my mind, and I said, I just don't want to be embarrassed. And when I got there, I barely seen us. And every father that came to the counter that was Black was trying to be a father. There was, what, maybe 2 out of my 2 years there? 2. All right. So there you go. There's the answer to the question. That's my trigger. My trigger is that I have a 15-year-old son who's getting ready to drive in that car over there that was said that had the wrong tints and it was a lie. And that a routine traffic stop could have went far left because he called backup. He came up to the window by himself. When I was looking for my insurance on my phone, because I had to update my Geico app, you feel me? Because I just didn't have the card prepared on my phone. And he's looking at my registration. He looks up and behind me. And so I looked up a little bit and looked in the rearview mirror, and there was a police car that I had just pulled up. And that's all I'm going to say. If we got that much time on our hands that we could have 2 officers on 1 person and not anything really be happening, we need some retraining. For real. We need some retraining. And just because every other place around us, is in this perpetual cycle of darkness, doesn't mean that Tullahoma or Manchester has to be the same way. How about we try something different? How about that? How about we try making our system better? So much so that the people around us be like, you know what? We need to try what they're trying. How about we do that? And then y'all, it'd be so funny to me because you'd be like, well, she can't say it's racism because it was a Black guy that pulled her over. I can say it because within our own Black community, we have our own racist ideologies about ourselves. But guess who we learned those from? Y'all. We learned it from y'all. And once we get a little taint of privilege, we are so willing to throw one another under the bus. It's not even funny. And we will stereotype our own people real quick. Do you hear me? The only power to me that a real Black person has is the power to oppress his own. That's real. The only power that a Black person has in the United States of America is the power to oppress and kill its own. I wonder why that is. What did Willie Lynch say? And that's how I'm going to end this. So now you know why I'm upset. And I'm upset for every other mother who has a mixed kid or a fully Black kid or a fully Hispanic kid with a darker skin tone that has to worry every time their child hops in a car and does what a Caucasian child does carelessly. because they don't have to worry about those things. A wonderful lady commented on there. She's like, I get in my car, I don't have to worry about any of that. I don't have to worry about that. That is not something that's not my concern. I couldn't imagine living life and having to worry about those things. Yep. All right, you guys. It's something for you to think about. But I like, you should know by now, I self-reflect. I take accountability. I'm super honest. And like I said, I have called the police on myself. And the officers came out and they were like, you have a right to be mad. But, try going to the bank, do a stop payment or something. You got to have to figure something else out. I'm not going to take you to jail. But I was asking them to, because I was about to beat that lady down in real life. I was going to beat her down. And so sometimes you got to be like, look, just come on, get me. Because I'm not safe right now. It's not a safe situation for her, for me. So anyways, I hope everybody has a good week. We've got wife talk tomorrow evening. What wife talk? And it comes from out of Titus 2, 4 and 8. And I mean, like, my part of the hashtag is I wasn't taught to be a wife. And I think a lot of us have not been taught to be wives, and that's nothing. Like, my mom was a wife and everything like that. And I seen how she was as a wife, but there's a deeper meaning to being a wife. And so, what does that mean? We're gonna get to the nitty gritty about it, and I'm excited. I'm excited. Is men have been trying to tell women how to be women, and you can't tell me how to be a woman. It's biblically sound that a woman of God should be teaching another woman of God how to be a wife, how to be a woman. But what has happened is that because we have not been instilled with great core values and standards within ourselves, we haven't taught anybody anything. We haven't taught each other how to be good women, good wives, good standards, and how to stand as a woman, which ultimately elevates the man that loves us. We haven't been taught those things. And so we're about to get down to the nitty gritty. Our first episode is the dream versus the reality. And we're going to talk about it. People see that dream wedding, and then what happens once the wedding is over, right? What is the reality of the situation, especially when you have seen a wife, but you were not taught to be a wife, just like men are not taught to be husbands, especially in our community. So we're going to get down to it. It's going to be fun. And then I think after our first initial thing, we'll be having guests. We'll be doing real panels, real conversations about this so that we can grow, heal, and create the standard that God had originally given us so that we can have healthy, functioning marriages, kingdom marriages. In Jesus' name. All right, you guys, be blessed. Thank you, and have a great day.